welcome to Phoenix Rising. We have a wonderful new show for you today with my dear friend Joe Giaquinto. And Joe and I have not done a fresh show in a couple of months now. Joe has moved, but not out of the area, so you could still reach him. And we've both been busy doing wonderful things, gathering more information for you. Today, the show, I would like to lean toward the topic. I'm sure we'll go off on tangents, though, about thank yous. And you know that we tend to talk about the spirit world a lot, about messages, EVPs, spirit photography, all these wonderful modalities that our loved ones speak to us through. But for me, very recently, it has come to my attention that not only do we thank them, but they thank us. And I shared this with Joe yesterday, and he asked me to open with it and share it, so that'll set the tone for where we're going today. A very dear friend of mine, Diane, and her sister Lynn, the ladies that I traveled to Africa with, which was amazing, and that was also a spirit-guided journey because there was no way I could have afforded that. And their mother recently passed, and her nickname was Maddie. So I was very blessed to have met her before the dementia really kicked in. Very spicy lady. She had a pilot's license. She started at 90. She had a pilot's license that I believe she was a certified pilot, licensed pilot, back in the 50s or 60s.
That's interesting.
But never really flew. Her husband, their dad, was a very controlling person. So the fact that she even got a pilot's license was amazing. She was also an accomplished artist, like your mom. Beautiful artwork. And her husband, the father, passed away about 2 years ago. And her dementia got to a point where she needed 24/7 care. So one daughter lives in Virginia, the other one, Diane, works. So she's there about 5 days a week, back and forth, but they needed someone. So there's this wonderful woman was hired to take care of Mama. As Mama came closer to passing, which was about 2 weeks ago, I went over, and it was just the sisters there, and I did what I was trained to do as an Anam Cara to help the family and the person leaving the physical body in a spiritual sense. It's like a spiritual hospice to let her know it's okay to go. You know, we don't need to go into details here. It's very non-invasive. It's very beautiful. You make sure that the music the person loved is being played there, any pictures they loved, the things that gave them comfort in the physical that are surrounding them. And at one point, Mom, Maddie, said to Lynn, when Lynn leaned over, she's a registered nurse and was doing more than the daughter thing. She was checking her medically. And Mama looked at her and she said, "Do you live here again?" And Lynn said, "Yeah, I guess I do." She said, "Oh, that's okay for now." She was also a very spicy lady. So I was there the 2 Wednesdays ago, the Wednesday before she died. And I did my ritual for her, made sure the music was playing, and then went on my way. And she gave me messages while I was there that I gave to the girls that were resonating with them. It was as if Mom was showing me pictures behind my closed eyes. I described certain people, certain types of flowers, and I know nothing about flowers other than I know this is green. That's as far as I go. So all these wonderful messages that she blessed me with to give to her daughters that gave them comfort. Mom passed the following day, Thursday, and after she passed, the funeral was set to be that following Monday. So over the weekend, after she passed, I went back to the house and I did a closing ceremony with the 2 daughters and their mom in spirit, which we lit incense and we did a journey, a visual. It was just very touching and very beautiful. Monday was the funeral, and I got to see members of their family that I hadn't seen in a long time that I adore. And I figured that would be the last time I see them until maybe the summer. So Wednesday, I had an appointment to go up to Hauppauge, about that person I was just speaking to you about. And I was ready. I was in my car, had an 8:30 appointment. I even checked my own oil now. I'm so grown up. And I'm on the expressway, and it's a little after 7:30. And I'm just past Shirley exit on the expressway, and my check engine light goes on. And those of you that know me know I love my purple car, and I don't want anything to ever happen to her. I want her to be around when she's 30 years old. I didn't panic. So the calm was over me, and I went off the expressway and got back on and headed back the other way. What would have made sense was for me to go to a friend closer in West Hampton.
Right.
It would have just made perfect sense, but something was pushing me that made no sense. From where I was on the expressway, I went all the way north and east to Southold to Mullen Motors, which when I thought about it, it was like, that's kind of wacky, but...
So instead of going right where you were, you went all the way out to this...
All the way. I went to the end of the expressway, made the turn, went down Sound Avenue, got into Southold, went to Mullen Motors. I called them, I told them I was coming, what happened, and they said, Phoenix, bring it in, we'll get you right in. So I got there, it was a little after 9, which I could have been in West Hampton way before that.
Yeah, because you went right by there.
I went right by. So it turns out that it was just a spark plug misfire. The computer reset itself. That's what he said, a slight rumbling, and it was okay. And as I told Joe, so that was Wednesday of last week. Friday, March 8th, was my son's birthday, my oldest son's birthday. And there's this really cute shop in West Hampton that I wanted to get him a fun card and a little gift, send it off from the post office right across the street. Leaving Mullen Motors, I was guided to do something else. And I'm coming up Main Road, and I made a right turn on Love Lane. Was going to go into that sweet shop there. And right across from the sweet shop is the Jamesport post office.
Right.
So get my son Bruce's package, right across the street. It's off, it's done. I don't even have to stop at the place in West Hampton. There's no spots on either side of the street on Love Lane. So I went up by this old bar, the Broken Down Valise, that has a reputation, bar none, no pun intended, because I said that because I knew you were going to catch it. And I made a U-turn, and I just said, well, if I'm meant to go into this sweet shop, a spot will open up right in front of it. Coming back down Love Lane that had no spots 1 minute earlier, someone pulls out directly in front of the chocolate sweet shop. So, and I wasn't surprised. It was, I thought it was Scott, but obviously it was not. And I pull in, and as I pull in and park, my cell phone rings. And it's Diane, my friend whose mother had just passed. And she said, what are you doing in Mattituck? I said, how do you know I'm in Mattituck? She said, we're in the Love Lane kitchen and you just passed. Come have breakfast with us. So I got to have breakfast with the people I was sad that I wasn't going to see for a long time. And when we talked about it, it's obvious to us that Maddie did this as a thank you. Thank you for helping me leave my body. Thank you for helping my daughters get through this very tough time the first few days. Thank you. And I started thinking, you know, what are Joe and I going to talk about on the show today? And it's about, I always say thank you, God, every day for my blessings and for waking up, and I thank God every night when I go to sleep for keeping me safe and getting me through another day. And I also thank Scott and my parents and my grandparents and all those loved ones that have crossed over. And I started thinking, they send us thank yous also. You know, for us to pay attention to when they're saying thank you. And maybe those thank yous are that beautiful song that comes on the radio. That scent that you smell, that maybe that was an aunt or an uncle or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to toss it to you now.
I got it. It's right here. My cheat notes. See, I'm supposed to know all this by heart, right?
No, this helps.
These are just some stories I wrote down. But first, I'd like to start with. So when we do ghost investigations, because I'm also
You're a PI.
I'm a PI. I'm a paranormal investigator. I'm a ghostbuster.
Yes.
Yes.
Do
yes,
you have
Dr.
a shirt that has that on that?
Yes. No, I don't. No.
I'm going to have to find
yes,
you one.
Yes, Dr. Venkman. We've been kicked out of the university again.
Yes.
No. So when I do ghost investigations, we've been Carrie Ann Flanagan-Brodsky, who is a Huntington historian and photographer.
And what's
and
the name
author.
of her book or books?
Well, we're just starting we're starting another book. She just got approval from the publisher for another
Excellent.
ghost book. So, Yeah, Long Island, Ghost of Long Island, and then she did the medal about Padre Pio, which is a big thing. She's written one about historic haunts of Long Island, which is a compendium of some old stories and some new stories. And then she also did one, historic murders of Long Island, famous murders. Which
I'd love to have her come on one day
yeah,
with
I
you.
didn't do that that book with her, but she has her own. That's her own thing. But
And she's more of a historian
she is
than
but,
a paranormal investigator.
Yeah,
she
I'm
is
more of the ghost guy. Yeah, what happened was, and this is a thank you from the spirits story that I'm leading into.
Okay.
But I just want to say that when we go out in the field, we used to use these what we call EVP recorders, electronic voice phenomena, ghost voices from the spirit world. They're just digital tape recorders. In the old days, they used reel-to-reel cassette recorders and all kinds of things. We use something called a ghost box. And it's really, basically, it's just a radio, that like a Radio Shack radio that's been hacked so that it keeps scanning. It doesn't stop at a particular station.
So you keep hearing the woo-woo sounds.
You keep,
like,
well,
is it static you hear?
no,
or
you hear static, but you hear voices.
Okay.
Because as it scans the talk shows, the sport channels,
Gotcha.
the news channels, the weather channels, you're getting voice talk shows that are coming on, people are talking, commentators are talking. So what the spirits do, the theory is that what the spirits do is they manipulate the scanner, because they can mess with energy. They don't have bodies, so they can only mess with energy. And they basically stop the scanner to pick words and syllables and phrases to answer questions.
Okay.
Now they've duplicated this scientifically by using speech chips that have a random number generator that has a sampled voices and words, so that now the spirits can go in and pick a word out to answer, like a yes, no, my name is Charlie, whatever it is.
Right.
So you can ask the spirits questions, and it's real time. But I use the old Radio Shack radio ghost box. So what I'm bringing this up is because in my recordings, in my conversations with the other side, it's intelligent communication. It's not just, like that. It's like, hi spirits, how are you? And you'll hear, hi Joe.
We've had that. And you had a computer, you had the laptop with you.
With some of the recordings.
The recordings.
But what I want to
on
say
them.
is that that often now on the recordings, when we go into an old mansion, like say a Gold Coast mansion, or like Ohika Castle, or Saginaw Manor, or one of these famous places, they thank us. So they'll actually say thank you, thank you for coming, or thank you Joe, thank you Carrie Ann.
That they're being acknowledged.
Yeah, we'll say I usually say how you doing. We're here, and they'll say hi Joe. We started this new book, and we went to I think it's the Brewster House, which I think is in Setauket, is it?
Mm-hmm.
And
I think so.
yeah, and that one I think I said, are we having fun yet? And they said you and Carrie Ann. They actually said our names out. They said you and Carrie Ann. They actually said. Now, for those of you who are skeptical, which is like 80%, 90% of the world,
Yeah.
which is good, I know this sounds over the top. It's just energy. We all have energy. We have bodies.
We are energy.
We have souls, and we have bodies. We have organic machines. We can move, do things. We can see things. But our soul, our not our brain, but actually our essence, is energetic. So what we try to do is, when we try to talk to the other side, we're basically talking to people that are non-corporeal, have no bodies, or people that have passed, or they're still close to physical, they really haven't crossed over yet. So in the thank you thing, that's why I want to start off by saying that they actually say thank you to us now on our recordings a lot. I was editing some recordings last night that I had to send to Carrie Ann, and there's one where we're at the William Sidney Mound House in, I guess it's Stony Brook, maybe on the edge of St. James there. And we were doing some stuff to help them, and they actually said, we love that Joe. That was the first, and then another spirit said, he's the sweetest person.
Oh.
And in the back of that, if you remember the movie It's a Wonderful Life, you remember when
Yes.
Clarence the Angel jumps off the bridge in the snowstorm because Jimmy Stewart was thinking of killing himself, throwing himself off the bridge. So Clarence the angel sees that, and he jumps into the water knowing that Jimmy Stewart's going to save him, jump in and save him, and not kill himself. So if you watch that scene, you can go on YouTube and find it. At about 35 seconds, 34 seconds into that clip on YouTube, you'll actually, when Clarence jumps into the water and it cries for help, you'll actually hear a harp in the back going like dum, like that. And they use that in some of these movies. It's like it's a symbol for emotion or love or some dramatic thing. So if you hear when he says he's the sweetest person, behind me you hear that harp flourish.
Oh, Joe.
Yeah. So that was kind of fun. I sent that to Carrie Ann last night. I said, you got to really listen to this carefully.
Yeah.
So I'll throw one other one out, and then I'll
throw it out.
Give it back to you. So for those of you, I love animals. I love nature. I love the planet. I'm not crazy. I mean, I am a human. I still consume things. I mean, I still have a carbon footprint, I guess. But I try to do the right thing. And so I love animals. I love nature. When I was a kid, I was a bird watcher. I was in the Audubon Society. And I was one of the first people to see a snowy owl when it came to Long Island. It was actually took residence at the Bridgehampton racetrack.
Oh.
And when I got up so excited with my camera and my binoculars to try to get a photograph of it, it flew away. I scared it. They wanted to kill me. The whole group, the Audubon group, wanted to kill me that day. It came back. But 2 times when we've seen hawks. I have 3 hawk stories. 3 hawk stories, yeah. 3 quick ones. So I was with, Carrie and I were with Chief Gail Rivas, who's the Settlecott Indian tribe. And this was several years ago. And we were on a medicine wheel blanket. And she was talking about how the Indians came over across the Sound, and there were the raids, and people were massacred, and all this stuff going on. But I remember when she said that they came across in the canoes with the women and children, and a red-tailed hawk that was flying the thermals above the bluff suddenly cried out right on cue. Wow. And she says, "I hold a hawk, the Thunderbird." Which is, I'm getting chills about that. It was just beautiful. It was like right on, like give the hawk $10. And then there was another time when we were at the Williams City Mount House, and we hadn't gone into the house yet. We hadn't had permission to go in the house. We did that on a later investigation, but we just were walking around the property. I had the recorders on, and suddenly the screen door, and it was a windless day, the screen door opened like this, right in front of us, and beckoned, and it closed back down. And right after that, 2 red-tailed hawks, a pair, one for each of us, I guess, for
We
carrying.
don't mess around.
Yeah, they came and started circling over our heads, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And the one more spirit story with hawks is I was out in Southern California, and I was walking one of the bike trails, and I saw a red-tailed hawk heading up along the freeway, heading towards the foothills. And I called to the hawk. I was practicing just my, being able to communicate. And I said, "Hi, hawk, you want to come over and say hi? Come over and visit me." And the hawk, which had been on the northerly track, he made a 180-degree turn. He came back over the freeway, started circling over my head. I kind of said hi.
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, thanks, have a good day." After I said that, the hawk stopped circling. He took off, headed back to the freeway, and continued his northerly. Now, maybe he was looking for a mouse for dinner. Maybe I was in a field or near a field or something.
The coincidence, the
timing
synchronicity of it.
When you see these events over and over again, because I'm a computer guy by day, that's my day job. When you see the hundreds of these things over and over, you just begin to say there's probably something. It's not always just coincidental. Yeah. So anyway, that was the hawk story and the ghost box.
And since you opened it up with
I have
the
more,
birds, I guess it was 2 years ago, because I have tons of hawk stories, obviously. About 2 years ago, my son David came out, and we went to the Morton Wildlife Refuge. I'm pointing because it's up the road, it's behind me.
Love it over there.
So David and I, whenever he comes out, we do our best to go there. So we're walking the trail, and of course, my pockets are stuffed with seed, and it's heavenly there. My favorite.
You
There's
walk
a
out
chipmunk,
on the,
when David has been with me, and my friend, this woman Marion, has been with me, all these times chipmunks have stood at the toe of my boot just looking at me like, where's lunch? You know, you got lunch? But anyhow, so David and I are walking on the path that goes down to the water, to the beach. There are these two older women a little further up the trail from us, and there are 3 wild turkeys, a male and 2 hens. And these 2 women are like huddled together. I'm like, are you kidding me? These poor birds are more frightened of you than you are them. But he was holding his ground, Tom himself. So we walk up, and David said, something wrong. And she said, well, the turkeys won't let us pass. And sometimes I forget that not everyone's like us. And I looked at her, and I guess I had a puzzled look on my face, and I said, well, didn't you talk to him? And David, afterwards, he said, Ma, I couldn't believe you said that to her. I said, because it makes sense to me. It's just being bilingual when you think about it. So she said, no, I didn't talk to the turkey. So I said, okay. So I walked up to the Tom and the 2 hens, and I said, hi, this woman and her friend are frightened of you. Could you please take your ladies and walk off the path and let everyone pass, and then you could come back on? Doesn't say anything. He just takes his 2 ladies, and they walk off the path, and the lady looks back at me like, oh, damn. So they walk on, and David said, Ma, look up. There's a red-tailed hawk up in the tree. So I look up, and I'm back, and I'm trying to take pictures of it and take it, and I'm like half getting it, half not getting it, you know, with the cell phone. So we get all the way down to the beach, and there's that platform there. So we're on the platform. David is to my left, and there's this beautiful deer to my right on the other side of the platform. And I'm just mesmerized. And David is saying, Ma, turn around. I said, I'll be with you in a second. Ma, she's here. And I turned around, who's here?
The hawk?
The hawk. The hawk was as far as I am to the middle camera.
Wow.
And David is trying to get his cell phone out of his pocket to take a picture of her. He couldn't get it out. I went into my bag. I took her picture. She looked, tilted her head, and flew off. So it was such a beautiful connection.
That is beautiful. I have to tell you a sad story, but another heartwarming story, another nature story. So we moved to West Sayville, and where we live, we have a landscape area with a fountain there, a waterfall. It's very nice. And Mom had these 2 seagulls that became very tame. She would feed them when we lived out in the Hamptons. She called them Claude and Claire. Now, of course, it's probably not always the same seagulls,
Right.
because they know where food is. They always go to the same spot. But it was funny because they were like pets. They would actually sit on the front lawn and sun themselves, just the 2 of them.
Oh, how cute.
And then they would wait for Mom, and when she'd come out and feed them, all the other seagulls, of course, would come in and get try to grub for food.
Yeah.
But we always joke about it when we left and moved west to, western Suffolk County. We always joked about that Claude and Claire would follow us some way. So here we are in this new place. We're like the first day there. We just moved in. And we saw this waterfall landscaping project with rocks and little streams, everything. Said, wow, that's really pretty. So my brother-in-law and I, we walked over there to walk around and see what it looked like on all the sides. So we go there, and we saw a couple of mallard ducks, a male and female. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, here we go again. They've become ducks. Not that they became ducks, but just that whatever controls nature and the kind of crazy things that animals do,
Right.
that these ducks were somehow going to be like Mom's next friends.
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law we walk around the fountain, waterfall, we come back, we start walking towards the apartment, and the ducks are following us, waddling along behind us like the Pied
You
Piper.
must have been hysterical.
I was laughing my head. I wasn't really laughing. I was chuckling, So we get to the apartment, and they walk right up to Mom, and they just stand there right in front of her, and they start quacking.
Oh, wow.
And she adopted
She's
them.
the duck whisperer.
She's the duck whisperer. And so they were there every day. They would come, and she would feed them, and they'd hang out, and they'd swim. They'd bathe in the little pond there, and then they would. So then, fast forward, one day, I had a bad feeling. We hadn't seen the ducks in like a week. And I came, it was a windy day, it was a nasty day out, it was before the winter. and I saw the male only.
Oh.
Yeah, the male mallard, he walked up to me, and this again right in front of the apartment entrance, walked up to me, looked at me. He was all alone, the female wasn't there, and it was like a goodbye. And he said, like, it was like a thank you. I felt like a thank you from him, like, thank you for being kind to us. And then he just turned around, and he flew off. And he flew, they never used to fly away when we were there. He flew off in the distance of the golf course and just went right between the trees, just almost hit the trees, and we never saw him again. It was like goodbye. No, it was really sad.
And the sense I'm getting is that he didn't want to live much longer either once she was
Yeah,
gone.
I don't think so. I think whatever, his mate was killed or something, but it was really interesting. And, you know, I heard, I don't know if this is true, but that ducks, do they mate for life?
I
or-
don't know.
I don't know
I'm
about
not
that, but-
knowledgeable about that.
So,
But-
you want me to share another story? Is that all right?
I'll do a swan story, and then you could
Yes,
do another
go right
story.
ahead. Sure.
Which I didn't think of until now. So
I didn't know we were going to go on this nature track.
neither did I. This is very different for those people that know us very well, and people that don't know say, what the heck's with these two birds? But many years ago, let me see, Jonathan, my fourth son, is 37 now. So he was about 12, 10 or 12. And we used to do volunteer work at Bide Away in West Hampton. And what I did also was animal rescue. And I couldn't always do it with Jonathan because it's not always safe to do it with a young child. So there was a woman there, Mary, very sweet lady from Ireland, and her specialty was wild birds, swans, geese, and to me, swans are just magnificent.
Yeah, they are.
But they're also very territorial, and they do mate for life. That's the one that I know
Okay.
that does mate for life. And you don't mess with the other one's mate, and you don't mess with their babies. Years ago, I had a friend that lived in Cutchogue on one of the creeks, and swans would always go by, and I do a lot of work with feathers. And I had said to my friend, I would love a feather. And he said, well, why don't you ask them for a feather? So I went down to the creek one day, and I said, would you please leave me a feather? And the next day I went down, not little puffies, but beautiful, big, big feathers. And of course, another story just came through my mind
go
that I'm
ahead.
going to go into
Sure,
from
sure.
there. Also at this house in Cutchogue, swans do not get along well with birds of other species.
I
They
didn't know that.
do not like it at all. And it was when the Canada goose was going back up north. And on this person's property, one of the geese had fallen, landed, it couldn't go with their flock, and it was dying. And I was heartbroken. So I said, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to do Reiki and help this. And I'm getting choked up again. Help this precious one pass. It was before any Anam-Cara training. All I knew how to do was just Reiki. I didn't know anything about opening its chakras and stuff like that. And I did some Reiki, went back into the house. I got some sage. I wasn't going to burn it around it, but I sprinkled it around, you know, said some prayers. I came out to say some prayers. And when I got outside, there were swans outside. And they were on the perimeter of the circle. They allowed me through. They were there protecting this Canada goose from being attacked by any other animals to let it pass in peace. That's unheard of, Joe.
Yes, yeah,
They,
it's very wild.
they don't do it, you know, and it was something you don't think to take a picture, but it also, it hits me that it would have been offensive to take a picture of something so sacred and so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, animals in many cultures are very revered.
Oh, yeah.
Native Americans, I mean, they call the hawk the thunderbird.
That's right.
Cows, and is it India or?
Yes,
they,
in
they
India.
are sacred animals. I have these books that I do some research with that go back thousands of years. And it's just, animals are an
It's
integral
amazing.
part.
Ted Andrews wrote a book, Animals Speak. It's an amazing book. I don't know if that's Lynn Andrews' husband. She wrote the Medicine Woman books, very talented, from a number of years ago. But if you could get a hold of the book Animals Speak by Ted Andrews, it gives you so much history, a lot of Native American wisdom in it also. The original thing that I wanted to tell you about is while at Bide Away, we got a call that there's a pond in Eastport right off Montauk Highway. And I don't know, is it Kaler's Pond?
Not sure.
It's one of the ponds there, that a swan needed help.
Is it the
And-
one you see on the right before you go up
Yes,
into town?
yes.
Yeah.
So I had gotten into the Swim and Mary station wagon. My son Jonathan was with me. He's in the back with this huge crate that we're going to put this bird in. So we get there, and this poor female swan, she had been injured. It had to be quite a while because her head was so disfigured that it was locked in backwards.
Oh.
She was just frozen in the position of her head over her back. Her male was not very happy about us taking her. So Mary said, keep Jonathan outside the car, but by the back of the station wagon. You go give him food. And as I'm trying to tempt him with food, Mary, who's a small woman but very bird savvy, picked her up like a suitcase, protected her neck and her head, picked her up. As soon as the male saw that happen, the wings went out and he came after us to attack us.
Oh.
I don't know that I've ever run so fast
my
in my
God.
life. We get into the car, and you felt so badly for him, but we brought him to Dr. Pescott, who was...
Is he a vet?
He was a vet at Hampton Veterinary. This was before Dr. Wen and Dr. Johnson took over. And he specialized in wildlife also. So he saved her life. It was a very intense program of antibiotics, physical therapy, and she was released back.
Did they straighten her out?
And she was straightened out. That was the therapy.
Wow.
So I couldn't go the day of release, but Mary told me that when they released her, he was there. I have goosebumps. The male, her mate, was there. It's as if he knew.
No
and
pun
sensed-
intended. You had goosebumps.
I had
Sorry.
goosebumps. I didn't even think of that. He knew on some level that she was coming back.
That's good.
And the greeting, and he did his thank yous, to them, beautiful display of feathers. So they do say thank you.
I mean, animals, I think anything living, even inanimate objects have energy. But I
Yeah.
mean, there's this whole thing about animals that have souls. Some people feel, go back to the Egyptians. The cats were revered. They had them
Yes,
on each
like
side
right
of the pyramid.
here.
Right, there you go.
See
So we
my
got the
beautiful
cat.
friend, yes.
Got to get the cat thing in here.
This is right. This was a gift from friends that
Beautiful.
just came back from Cuba.
That's
So
really
instead of
beautiful.
bringing the picture of the phoenix, I had to bring
yeah,
this
I like
beautiful
that.
cat today.
That's really cool. I like those little
Yeah.
art pieces.
So go ahead. You had another.
Yeah, so I'll move us from animals now to humans.
Before you go to
Yes.
humans, please tell people how they could get in touch with you, Joe.
My website is Joe G. Medium PI. Joe G. Medium Paranormal Investigator. So Joe G. Medium. Think Magnum PI. Joe G. Jody Medium. That came from, so Carrie and I were at the Execution Rocks Lighthouse and a few years ago, and we were doing that. We were out there on the Homeland Security boat with the Coast Guard, and we were investigating the lighthouse for one of her stories in the book. And the Nassau PD saw activity out in the lighthouse. They wanted to come out and investigate, so they got in their chopper and they flew out to the lighthouse.
You criminal, you.
Yeah. So, again, we're there with Homeland Security, with the Coast Guard
Yeah.
and Coast Guardsmen. So, but we were up in the tower with the light where the lens was.
Where the beacon is.
Yeah, beacon. We were actually walking around the terrace there.
Called the Widow's Walk.
Is that what's called, the widow's work? I'm glad there were no widows that day. But anyway, we saw the chopper come out, and he's flying around and around the lighthouse, just like literally, like you said about the bird. We were like where the wall is here. That's how close the helicopter
That's
was to
pretty
us.
darn
Yeah,
close.
and he was hovering, and I'm smiling from ear to ear. And Carrie Ann says to me, "Why are you so happy? Why are you smiling?" He says, "I feel like we're in an episode of Magnum PI." So when I started doing more of the mediumship work versus the Ghostbuster work, I said, well, I can't just be Joe G PI. I have to be JoeGMediumPI.com.
Okay.
So I'm going to move it to some people now. So when my friend Jeannie's mom passed, and this is the story, I've told you the story about the candy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's a heartwarming story, and again, it's a thank you from the mom who passed. So Jeannie's mom passed. She was, of course, very upset about it. I had an event going on. We were going to watch a movie called Time of Their Lives with Abbott and Costello. It's a real sleeper movie. It's one of the few movies where Costello actually plays the straight man. And Bud Abbott gets kicked in the butt. He's the one that ends up getting all the gags. But it's a great movie because it's a ghost movie. It's a haunted house movie, but it's very beautiful. It's very heartwarming. It has a happy ending and everything, and there's a little romance thing in there. So it's very unlike their normal Abbott and Costello movies, which are all slapstick and So that movie was interesting because I was doing like a movie night with my group, and we played that movie, and then we were going to talk about the movie and talk about spirits and ghosts and stuff, and have a little conversation after. So I invited Jeannie to come to the movie, and I said, "Come on, get out. Your mom passed. You're grieving. Come on, get out. Be with some people tonight. We'll have a little party." So she came, and when the movie started playing, when they put the date up that the ghost had died, but Lou Costello dies. He gets shot by the Patriot soldiers during the Revolutionary War. They think he's a traitor. He actually isn't. He actually was carrying a letter from George Washington, but they accidentally kill him and Elsa, his friend, they both died, so then become ghosts. But when they put the date up to transition from the old days when they died to the new days, the date that they put up, the month and the day, is the same day that Jeannie's mom died, a few weeks before. So and then when they show this tree with all these Valentine hearts on it, and the initials on the heart is JG, which is my initials.
Yeah.
Again, coincidence, but very interesting. There were some other things to that. I had developed a logo for my group. I hadn't posted it yet. It was a logo of a sort of a wreath with like a V in it, like a victory sign.
Okay.
When the Patriot soldiers show up in the first scene of the movie, they're wearing the same logo I developed.
Isn't that fascinating? I love
But
it.
besides all that, so Jeannie watched me. We thought that was really interesting. So definitely her mom, who had passed recently, was trying to communicate with her. This is how I felt about it. So now we had a ghost investigation out of all places, a nursing home.
No,
Talk
I'm
about
not saying a
talk
word.
about active places.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of spirits.
I
there.
bet there was a
In
lot
fact,
of
when
stuff
I first
going
got
there.
there, my clairaudience, I heard this elderly gentleman say to me, "What the hell are you doing here? Get out of here."
Yeah.
I did a reading, found out he was a guy that had just died, and he ruled the roost over there. So I know his name is Charlie or something.
Big
But anyway,
boss.
Yeah, the big boss. So anyway, long story short, no one was showing up for this thing. I had like 5 people signed up.
Okay.
10 minutes before we're supposed to start, I was ready to go home. I just said, we don't have enough people to do this event. 25, 30 people show up.
Wow.
And all these cars pull into the parking lot at once. Jeannie comes there. She's standing right next to me in the parking lot. I'm about to talk to the group about protocol, not bothering the people inside.
Right.
If you see any phenomena, if you have anything that bothers you, let me know. Things like that. Separating the teams, who's going to investigate what room. So I had gone to the penny candy store in St. James, the general store, and I bought all this candy, put it in a brown paper bag, and I love candy. I mean, I bought everything, but the one thing I didn't buy, which I love, is licorice. I don't know why. They had licorice, they had saltwater taffy, they had lollipops, they had gum, they had everything there, jawbreakers, but I did not buy licorice. It was the only thing I didn't have in my bag. So when I got to this nursing home, we're in the parking lot, Jeannie's standing next to me, and I said, guys, before we start, I got some goodies for you. I bought at the penny candy store. And I said, and I look in the bag, and I'm going to say, I got lollipops, I got saltwater taffy. My mind went completely blank. I could not utter I'm looking at the candy in the bag. My group is right in front of me there. I couldn't think of one description of a candy. All I could think of was licorice, which was in the bag. So I said, I've got licorice. And Jeannie said, what? And I turned to her and I said, oh, I have to preface this. Before Jeannie's mom died, when her and her sister were in the hospice and her mom was just about to pass, she said to them, when I go, I'm going to give you a secret word. And your friend, the medium Joe, if he gets that word, you'll know I made it. And
Licorice.
Licorice. Yeah, I turned to Jeannie. I said, is the secret word licorice? And she said, yes, it is.
Isn't that?
And then all the lights in the parking lot, all the surveillance, all the security lights start going on and off. And the RN that was there for like 22 years, she said they've never done that. And I said, Jeannie, I said, your mom is winking at you to let you know she's okay.
Yeah.
Jeannie later told me that when her mom was in hospice and she was on a lot of meds and in a semi-deep sleep, a coma, she said she would wink at them to let her know that she still heard what they were saying.
Yeah.
So it was a beautiful hello and thank you from her mom.
And we talk about often that we did that the mini-series about death and dying to help people get over the fear, because our society, our Western culture, deals in death as this big fear thing, something you can avoid.
Yeah.
No, you can't, and it's really just part of the whole journey. I lost my train of thought. Who did that to me? So that our journey goes,
Right.
and so we keep coming back to this. And on our conversation yesterday also, there really is nothing to be afraid of. What I focus on, and I think it was Lorraine Recchia that had the conversation with us during one of those 3-part shows, is what you can do is you can speak to God, you can speak to your angels, and you can say, when it is my time, let me pass peacefully, calmly, gently. Let me do it that way. Because everything is energy. You are energy. Your thoughts are energy. And what you think, you speak, and your actions, we are all creating our moment, our now. There are people that are constantly walking around dragging their feet. Oh, woe is me. This dark cloud is over me, which it's not. Thank you very much. But these people just keep talking about how terrible things are. Oh, it's so cold today. Oh, it's so rainy today. Oh, it's so hot today. Instead of, wow, I woke up today. How many people didn't wake up today?
I know. It's amazing. We go back and we look at history and we look at the billions of people that have lived and died. People, man, women, they go back 10,000 years. They found evidence of people living millennia ago, and everyone's asked the same question: what's next? What am I here for? How long am I going to live? Am I going to wake up the next morning? And one thing to take comfort in is that a lot of people believe that you can come back. I don't know if you want to come back, but I do believe that souls can recycle. Well, because this planet, it's a beautiful place to play and enjoy and experience and work out.
So many lessons for us to learn.
So many lessons, yeah.
When my sister Vicky had passed, and you and I hadn't reconnected at that point yet, and I had just met Isabella Randazzo, and Isabella knew nothing about me, and I'm the youngest of 3. My middle sister passed a number of years ago. And when I walked into Isabella, one of the first things she said to me was, she said, because I say nothing. Once in a while you've caught me and you say, shh, say nothing. So this time I did say nothing, and I physically sat on my hands because I can't talk without my hands. And she said, you have a sister that's crossed over? And I said, yes, I do. And she said, oh dear, I don't know how to tell you this. And she doesn't remember this, because you can't remember everything you say to each person. I remember it because it was such a stunning comment. She said, I don't know how to say this to you. Your sister's very happy to be dead. And I said, she is. And for that sister, that makes perfect sense. She was never a happy person in life. She died of rectal cancer, which is a terrible, terribly painful way to go. And she had invited cancer back into her life 3 times. She did not want to be here. She wanted out.
Yeah, some spirits, on some of the conversations we've recorded, some spirits are happy to go. Some have been here a few times. Some of them miss certain things. For example, one of the reasons spirits, and I'm not talking about possession or Chucky doll stuff or any of this stuff, Halloween. I'm talking about just spirits. The spirit world is love. Even people who've done terrible things here, when they pass, they have to see their whole their hell, their purgatory is seeing all the bad stuff they've done. They have to carry that baggage with them, and they got to work it out. That's why a lot of spirits just hang around, because they abused somebody their whole life, and now they realize they were really awful, and they want to apologize, but they can't write a post-it note. Now they're dead, you know, physical dead. But a lot of the spirits, they sometimes they like to experience things that they miss. Like, for example, like they might miss eating, enjoying having a cherry pie, or dragging on a cigarette.
I thought it was a joint.
Or a joint. If they died in the hippie age, and maybe pretty soon everybody will be smoking joints in this United States. But that's another topic. But anyway, yeah, you know, a lot of times spirits, what they'll do is they'll temporarily get involved with a physical person so they can experience things, so they see things through our eyes. So that's part of the channeling process. Some mediums will do trances and things like that. But I was thinking of another story. It's kind of a funny one. It sort of involves animals, but not really.
Okay.
This fella, Michael, who had passed, his family lives in central Long Island here, near Smithtown area. And Carrie Ann and I went to transcribe their story for the book. And I didn't know anything about it. In fact, I was following Carrie Ann's SUV. I didn't even know where these people lived. So we're in a residential area. We get to the house, and they're setting up the interview in the kitchen with the soda and cookies and stuff. And it had been a long trip, so I said, I'd like to make a pit stop. So they said the bathroom's down the hall. As soon as I go in the bathroom, I turn on the light in the ceiling fan, and I hear that, clear as a bell, I hear this guy say, in this melodic, sort of Hawaiian voice, this man says, "My name is Michael." Loud, as clear as can be. So I finish my business, I go back in the kitchen, and they're setting up, and I say, before we start, to the parents, they were alive, the son had died. I said, before we start, I'd like to ask you, who's Michael? And they say, that's our son who passed. And that's what the story is about that we're going to be interviewed for. So that was a good start to the interview.
Yes.
But we had there was a lot of phenomena when Michael passed. He was a very strong soul. He really didn't want to die. He really loved life. So he was really hanging around the physical. He didn't want to let go of the house. So we had this mascot. It was a mechanical monkey, an organ grinder monkey, the one that claps the cymbal, and then you wind it up, you put batteries in it. Well, 2 weeks after Michael had died, the batteries had been long corroded. It was sitting on the dashboard of the truck, the family business truck, the panel truck, and it started to clap in the hands. But even worse than that, I mean, worse, good worse.
Yeah, more interesting than
that was, for them, it was worse because they didn't want any of this phenomena from their son. They said, please, Michael, cross over already, go, you know, we can't handle this. But Michael was very persistent. So he had in a Hawaiian orchid plant that had never bloomed. After he died, it bloomed. One beautiful white flower.
That
flower
was a gift to them.
It was a gift. It was a thank you.
Yeah.
The husband gave me the monkey. He said, Joe, this is your monkey, because I sometimes people give me objects supposed to be haunted, so I like. I'm an antique collector too, so I like these old things. I keep them, I analyze them, put them on my shelf for a while, enjoy their beauty, and then I sell them or give them away or something. So I had this monkey, and I sent it to a colleague in California. A couple weeks later, I get a text or something from her, and she said, you remember that monkey that you sent me from that fellow that died? And by the way, the story hadn't come out. The book hadn't come out. We were under contract not to reveal any details. So I hadn't told anybody about any phenomena. So she emailed me. We talked on the phone. She says, remember that monkey that you sent me, the one that you said somebody had died? And, well, she says, I put it next to my Hawaiian orchid plant, and now the thing's blooming like crazy.
Michael's not done yet.
No. He always liked Hawaii, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another thank you.
There's just so many amazing things. You know, I think many people that have watched the show know when Scott was in the coma, he he was in Winthrop Hospital, and I was in West Hampton Beach. And his daughter called me and said, "Mom, you have to come. We have to find the insurance papers. You know, Dad's not coming out of the coma." And I stopped at the West Hampton post office, drove my red Volkswagen at the time, put all the mail on the passenger seat, and started driving to Bayshore. And I had been getting headaches while he was in the coma. And I worked at Stony Brook, and they didn't know, we couldn't figure out what the headaches were coming from. So I'm driving, and a headache is starting, and it was like, oh dear God, not another headache. And clear as you and I sitting here, I hear, and I knew it was Scott, say, "If you would just listen, the headaches would stop." And then I think, okay, so I'm insane. So now I'm totally certifiably crazy. And he spoke to me almost all the way between West Hampton and Bayshore. And Joe knows this experience very well. I picked up the backs of the envelopes from my mail, and I started writing down the messages, that he was sorry that he had to leave, messages to his daughter, to his grandchildren, to his our friend Rosie, just amazing things, how his son, the oldest son, was going to behave the day of the funeral service. And as I'm writing this down, I realize I'm not driving my car, and my car is going 50 or 60 miles an hour on Sunrise. And all I could think of is anybody pulling up next to me is like, what?
So you were like in Herbie the Love Bug.
Something
it was
like
doing
that.
Its own
The
thing,
car was doing its own thing, and I was like, holy cow. And then I went back into wherever that was, and I finished writing and put everything down. When I pulled up at his house, I get inside, and his daughter, Lisa, my precious daughter, was there with our friend Rose, and Scott saved every condiment package from every Chinese and Thai restaurant we ever went to on top of the refrigerator, and Lisa's cleaning it off. And when I got there, it was like I was crying, but I didn't realize at the time all the energy going through me was hindering my breath. I was like, and I said, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And she was like, oh, Ma, this must be for you. And I still carry it in my wallet, and I've shown it to you. And it's a business card. And he never called me stupid, but the card says, breathe, stupid. And on the back side of the card is, in his handwriting, his home phone number, in case there was any doubt what had happened.
Wow.
So the messages of my son David, that he adored, that he was closest to of all my sons, Scott brings me feathers through other people. If I forget this ring, strangers come up to me and say, I don't know why I'm saying this to you, lady, but where's your ring? You know, put your ring back on. And David had his attaché case in the trunk of his car, locked in the garage, gets to work, unlocks the trunk, takes the attaché case out, gets up to his office, opens it up, and there's a feather in it.
Wow, that's very interesting.
And then the fella, our friend Jacques, that before he knew me, gave me the feather, and he said, I don't know why, but he wants me to give you this feather, and the feather is white and black. And I broke up laughing, and I said, that's because in this lifetime I'm white and Scott was black.
Right.
So there, and to me, it's not just acknowledgments. I believe that what I'm being pushed to share now is the thank yous. You know, yes, when you wake up in the morning, whether you choose to call it God, Buddha, Mohammed, Sugmad, Krishna, say thank you. Thank you for giving me another day. Thank you for, excuse me, and thank your legs for carrying you, your heart. Just, we need to have so much gratitude.
We do. We take a lot for granted. It reminds me of a story. I have time for it?
We have 2.5 minutes.
Okay. This is this fellow Jeff. He was part of a organization, a religious organization that I was part of, that had worked at this beautiful old Grange building in Aquabog. And Jeff, I saw him one day at the store. 2 weeks later, I got an email from the pastor that said, unfortunately, Jeff has passed from a massive heart attack. It was amazing. It's just like, you see the guy, and then he's gone. You blink, and he's gone. So everybody at the group, they knew that, even though I'm Catholic, they knew also that I was a spiritualist, and they said, I bet he's going to find a way to get to you, Joe. So a year went by, So Jeff had this thing he called the green gorilla or something.
Okay.
He was into nature and into healing. He had this magic wand he used to wave, and it was supposed to bless things, and it was a whole thing. And he wrote this stage play called The Green Gorillas, I think. So what happened is, I'm getting a haircut, and the barber tells me, I have a friend that might want to do a psychic party at her catering hall. So could you go meet her and see if she could do it? I went and met her. The timing wasn't right. They weren't ready to do this event. They were still renovating stuff. So she says, we can't do this here, but my family in West Hampton would like a reading because they lost somebody.
Okay.
And could you go and do a reading for us at our home? So I have 3 different people now. Now I'm with her family, and I go do the reading, and at the end of the reading, everybody's having coffee and cake, and the daughter comes back and says, yeah, I just want, thank you so much for bringing our father through. I got his name, his first name, Jeff, and she says, one of the things that he really loved in his life was the green gorillas.
I love it.
And I said, is this Jeff so-and-so? And she says, you know my father? He found a way, to come through, yeah. Took me through 3 different towns, from Hampton Bays, Riverhead, Aquabog, Hampton Bays, Southampton, and West Hampton Beach. 3 completely different groups of people I had never met.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So we're just about done. Thank you again, Joe. We got to do this more often.
That's
We've waited too long.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and supporting Phoenix Rising. Any questions? Give us a call. Love and blessings. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my dear friend.